must go on, like the night must break to dawn. The show, it must go on, down the line and through your life. Would you follow me into the night? Would you trust me with your life?
Hello, world, and welcome to the Wolf's Den today. Ladies and gentlemen, today we've got a homegrown middle sackful boy, Mr. Jeff Hope. Jeff, welcome to the den. How are you?
Very well, thanks for having me.
Oh, pleased to have you in, sir. Now, I got a couple of questions right off the bat. Where you been? How come I don't hear about you?
Well, I've been slugging it out in the clubs for 15 years.
Man, oh man, I'll tell you, like, you must have everybody on a gag order.
Well, I wish that was the case. But
Now, like, have you got a band under your own name? Do you play on another band, or?
I don't right now. I toured for a long time with a band called Barnacle, and then later that became a band called The Frequency,
Okay.
up until about 4 years ago. And then I got out of the racket and decided to go home. I run my own business from home now, and so that's allowed me to sort of get out the creative side again,
Okay.
which had been dormant since 2002, really. And so, yeah, I just decided to put a record together or something to do, and it's become a beast all on its own.
Well, I was going to say, you had a lot to say. There was 18 tracks.
Yeah, 18 tracks. Two of them are from my youth that have my dad playing harp on them. That I've sort of brought.
Now, I've got, in my notes, I've got that little machine written down there,
Yeah.
that harp.
And Dad was a spectacular harmonica player, and passed away 2 years ago in August. And so when I was doing the record, I pulled those songs up, and I thought, I can rework these. The vocal was there because I unfortunately don't have that range any longer. So I pulled the vocal from years ago and pulled the harmonica, and then had the tracks, redid all the tracks, replayed the bass, played some piano, and then had a couple of young fellas, a fella from Moncton named Danny Bourgeois.
Okay, did all your drumming for
Did
you?
all my drumming for me.
Woo-hoo! What a drummer.
He's spectacular.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
And,
And
young-
what a guy.
Oh, yeah, and just bang on. And Chris Richards, another
Yes,
Nova Scotia
indeed.
homegrown.
Yes.
He's in Nashville now. So
Yeah.
Chris, I get introduced to him through a family friend, and so got to know him and was listening to him. And got a hold of him and say, hey, I'm doing this record. Would you be interested in doing some tracks? I said, send them down. So we did all of that remotely, and he's a monster.
That sounds like Chris,
Yeah.
isn't he, though? What?
He's a monster. There's nobody like it. And so creative.
He is right where he needs to be.
Yes. Yeah, he's
All
going
right.
to own that world.
Nashville needs him.
Yeah.
Right? They
Oh,
don't
yeah.
they don't know how bad yet. They know they need him, but they don't know how bad.
Well, he's great on the stage, but what he's
Yeah.
really great at is you give him a concept, you give him, and he just runs with it. You don't, like the material he was sending back was so impressed with this
And
work.
every single person you talk to will tell you the same thing when it comes to him.
Yeah.
Now, Jeff, we heard you mention your dad. Now, so I always ask, where did the influence come? And you told me your dad's name, so I know where your influence came. And so tell us a little bit about your dad.
Well, Dad was a professional musician starting in the late 50s, and was signed to Epic with the Five Sounds, which included, Richie Oakley and Jimmy White and Doug Billard, who played with the Pepper Tree, and,
Yeah.
and obviously Soma and Jack Harris, and Jack was a phenomenal musician.
Yes, Mr. Jack was indeed.
Yeah, so they toured together in the 60s in the U.S. and Dad came back here after that ordeal, and it didn't go as well as they'd planned, and he came back and he played locally in a band called Alchemist for many years, and got into recording heavy. Him and I got into recording heavy in the 90s. And so we had one of the first home studios in Atlantic Provinces with digital. So we had, I think it was the first or the second ADAT in the Eastern Provinces, and we got into recording.
So you had lots of gawkers coming around to see what you had.
Lots of toys, and I learned, I learned everything from doing music. I learned computers, and I learned that's what my business is. And but he was a real musician's musician, Dad, and I got magazine articles on him from the 50s and the 60s, and when they were playing. And
was it real?
I don't know. I sort of put him in a caliber, caliber all its own. Yeah.
Well, you know what? He was your dad, so why wouldn't you, right? But obviously, you guys had fun together playing music.
We did and we didn't. Yeah, it was. I mean, he was hard. So we had very different tastes. Although I loved what he did, he didn't like the rock edge as much as when I was a kid. I just wanted to be Iron Maiden, Deep Purple. That's where my and Dad was more of a rhythm and blues and a country guy, and so when I was a teenager, we butted heads on genre, but he certainly taught me a lot, and we got into the recording, and that led to many heated conversations because everybody interprets things different, but we managed to see our way through it, and I miss him some pile, I'll tell you.
Well, I would imagine that you would because, like you said, you had so many creative moments together, and I imagine there's probably a lot of times when you'd like to say, I'd like to run this by you, or what do you think about this chord progression, or what do you think we could do there?
Yeah, that is, it's truly one of the hardest parts,
But you know what? Ask the question. He'll answer you.
Yeah, well, yeah.
If you guys were in tune when he was here, you're still in tune. His answers are still there. You just got to listen. They're in there with the noise, but you just got to ask him the question and then wait for it. It'll come to you.
I'm going to give that a try.
No, you know what? I've always been a believer that if you put stuff out to the universe, it'll come back to you, be it a question, a situation, or a real serious need. I think when you put it out there, and I think sometimes we just have to open ourselves up to the thought of saying, okay, if I was sitting in front of Dad and I did ask him this,
what would the answer?
What would his answer be? Because chances are
Yeah.
Right? And I would imagine a lot of times when little things happen and you don't really know why, that would probably be him giving you a little push.
Yeah. The dad voice is what my buddy called it.
Yeah.
The dad voice in the back of your head.
Yeah, exactly. And that's never a bad thing. Now, we're looking, you sent me a bunch of music. And the first stuff that I listened to was actually your new stuff from Fill the Void.
Right.
And the big thing that I noticed about the whole thing was the overtures of 70s rock and roll. I heard Hammond organs in there.
Mm-hmm.
I heard harps.
Mm-hmm.
I heard some really, really, I don't want to say old, but I heard some guitar riffs in there. Jim and I talked about it over the phone and stuff and online, and it was very, very, there was a lot of the stuff that was reminiscent of going to a 70s rock and roll concert.
Yeah, I can. Actually, my buddy, you nailed it on the head because my buddy says you're right, stadium rock. And when you messaged me, and that's what he said, it's like listening to Journey or some of those older, and that's really, when I was growing up, that's what I loved. That's the music I loved, and that's where I feel I can write the best, And so when I sat down and I pen a song, that's how I hear it finished.
Well, if you want an argument, you're going to have to change the subject, okay? Because that was a lot of times Jim will listen to stuff before I do. And then he'll start to tell me about it, and I'll tell him, no, I don't want to hear about it. Just leave me alone, let me go off in my corner, and just let me listen. This time he got ahead of me. And this time he told me, he said, man, he said, this is so 70ish. He said, it takes me back. And when I started listening to it, I'm writing down 70s guitar riffs. I'm writing down. That's reminiscent of Jethro Tull. You know, like there was some tunes in there that just, I mean, I don't want to date myself, but that did. They took me back to when I was a teenager.
Yeah, it's funny you say Jethro Tull. I listened to, I think I had every record. My uncle Mike Mosier, which I'm sure you guys would know that name. Mike was another big music influence on me, and he played flute, and he was a big Tull fan, and we sort of did the karaoke thing, and a lot of it. Yeah. But he took me on when I was 13, 14, it was just a musical journey through his record collection and his likes and his dislikes. And
I think it was Epic Journey. That was the song that took me back Tullish.
Yeah, it's got a lot of that, and maybe a bit of there's a variety of different. That's got, I mean, it's got a modern flair to it as well, right? The synth and the arpeggiation, and yeah. Now,
the other song that we're going to talk about here in a couple of minutes, I think probably what we need to do right now is we need to take a little bit of a musical interlude, and we need to either hear a couple of tunes from you, Jeff. Sure. So that's what we're going to do. So ladies and gentlemen, sit back right here in the Wolf's Den. We got Mr. Jeff Hope into the studio, and we're going to listen to a couple of tunes right here on CIOE 97.5, the home of East Coast music.
Talk anymore. It's just hello and goodbye. I'm feeling lonely, and that's for sure. Lately all we do is fight. You don't need to wash my dirty laundry. All I need's some peace of mind. I'm tired and hungry. I just need a little time. You know I got too much on my mind. Pay the bills. That's my own sacrifice. You stayed at home to raise the kids, but now you miss your busy life. Well, you don't need to wash my dirty laundry. All I need's some peace of mind. I'm tired and hungry. I just need a little time. You know I got too much on my mind. Now I'm not blaming you for all the things that have gone wrong. Girl, all I wanna do is work things out so we can get along. You don't need to wash my dirty laundry. All I need's some peace of mind. And I don't wanna fight, I'm tired and hungry. I just need a little time. You don't need to wash my dirty laundry. All I need's some peace of mind. I don't wanna fight, I'm tired and hungry. I just need a little time. You know I got too much
Wolf's Den, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking with Mr. Jeff Hope. Now, we're talking about Fill the Void, and now this CD has not been released yet.
No, sir.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you're getting just a little bit of a teaser here tonight in the Wolf's Den. Now, on the Atlantic Indie Project, we are going to showcase your other CD. The Show Must Go On. So we'll play that whole CD on Thursday night at 7 o'clock at the Atlantic Indie Project. We're going to play that whole CD, so you got to stop in to hear that.
Actually, it's a new plan we have now. We're playing on the Atlantic Indie Project on communityradio.ca. We're playing the entire CD of the person we're going to interview 3 days later on the Wolf's Den.
So that way people can get a little bit of a listen before they get a little bit of a listen.
And then we talk about the new material and get a little bit of a live record.
And we can also get a little bit more of an insight as to who you are. All right, so before we went to the musical interlude, we started talking about good intentions. And I want to talk about this song because the words in this song, if people take their time and they listen to the words in this song, they'll go someplace. They'll go to an old home, they'll go to an old farm, or they'll go someplace that's reminiscent to them. Right. You know, and they can see the old board and batten that's all faded and split and tearing off the walls, and you know what, a lot of them can relate to that new highway. So Jeff, please give us a little bit of an insight and a rundown on exactly what that song was all about.
Well, it was literally, I was sitting with my buddy in the studio, and we were talking about country music, which I played professionally for a lot of years. I played piano, and I write it, but I tend to make it a little bit rocky. It turns out sounding Bon Jovi-esque, I guess, is what people say. But so anyway, I said, well, look, everybody's writing about their cut-off jeans and their half-ton truck, and it's like, you write a country song. Write it about a barn. Write it about something country. Like, just pick a different thing other than your truck and your blue jeans and your girlfriend, right? And so we were joking around, and I just started playing with words. And 2 hours later, I had the whole song penned. I sat on it for a year and a half or 2 years, but the words just sort of poured out once I started, right? And it's like, how many people have been through that, where they've been on a family farm, and that's gone through many generations, and then the government comes in and expropriates their land and plows down their buildings, and there's more than just a building, right? It's people's lifetimes, and so that's the premise I was trying to get at, is there's more in this building than the fact that it's just an old barn. There's a lot of memories.
Yeah.
And
Well,
Do you play that song solo?
Can I play?
No,
I can get it.
I just paused that because I thought, what a great lead.
We could do
so
that.
if you want to tell us about a song that you'd like to play later on, then that
we can do that
would work
as well.
very
Yeah.
well. Works very well. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I mean, this is whatever we say anytime is recorded.
Right.
Yeah,
So
and we can always head it
So
in.
we do it ambient here. We've got the 4 mics, and
then you just cut
I'll
away
turn those
the
2
lead.
around when you play. And
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like for me, the song itself, I listened to, you sent me, 18 on one and 9 on another.
Yeah.
Right? So I sequestered myself away and just started listening to tunes. But that tune, a lot of tunes stuck out to me, but that one really stood out to me. You're right. I mean, that one took me someplace. Right, I can understand the expropriation and all that happened just up the road from where I live.
Yeah,
many years ago. So now, how long did it take you to do Fill the Void?
I've got about. This is almost 2 years. It's almost 2 years of work.
Is that right?
I mean, some of the material is older than that. Some of the material I wrote just after my last record, and then I was working 50-hour-a-week job, and I was playing 4 nights a week, and there wasn't any creativity left in me. So I just walked away from recording and penning because, I'd done the first record, and I didn't pursue it well enough, and I didn't market it, and I didn't know how, and I was a kid, and so I just sort of, you get very disheartened.
But this is one of the issues that we face all the time with musicians, okay? You're a musician. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're a marketer.
Right.
okay, or that you're a manager.
It's hard to sell. It's hard to have, I've always been a self-conscious person. We got some lightning. Yeah. I've always been a self-conscious person, and so it's very hard to go and say, hey, listen to me. Look at what I'm doing. I'm great. That's not the way that I would ever want to. So it's very hard to do that, right? So I always played in the band or back somebody up, and it's just. But now I'm a little older. You care less about what people think. It's you just try to be a good fella and go do your thing.
We've been beat up now, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, come on, buddy. I've already been down in the mud. Like, yeah, go ahead, kick me again.
And so this time around, I really wanted to enjoy it. I wanted to surround myself with great musicians, and which were on both projects.
And that was a question that was definitely coming. Is that okay? You're talented, and I know you play guitar, and I know you play keyboards. But we do need to talk about who has been, especially on this latest endeavor, okay? Because they're the people that we're going to get to hear the most of in the next little while. Right.
The first record was a great collaboration of musicians, and I was really helped by a gentleman named Harold Sustanis, who ran Solar Audio and became a very, very good friend to me. And he really took me through recording at a different level, because I had been self-taught until I got to spend time with Harold, and he just took me under his wing, and we mixed my whole record there, and he took an immense amount of time with me, and I got to work with Bruce Jacobs, who was a family friend, and he came and played bass. Although I'm a bass player, I really wanted that influence, and Bruce obviously is a god on the bass guitar, and he came in and really added. And the drummer's name was Aaron Farr. I grew up with Aaron, musically grew up with Aaron. He lives in Toronto now. And Bob Melanson played all the lead guitars on that record. And he's another monster.
I was going to say, you're pulling some big names up here anyway.
And Ron Hustis actually did some keyboard work on that
record.
Wow.
There's a little blast from the past.
Ronnie and I were working together at the time. Yeah. He was a great person. He was a very knowledgeable man.
And Gary Hiltz is another guy that's been around this business for.
Oh my God!
I was shocked when Harold passed. He was in good health when I hadn't seen him in a couple of years, but when he was 60, he would dive under the mixing console. It was just amazing to watch him go. Like he was, and always fun. Him and I had so much fun.
Our probably our best, most popular interview. We had a full video was Frank McKay.
I watched the whole thing. Yeah, Frank. Obviously, I grew up with Dad, who loved Frank and loved.
You know what? That humbles me very
Frank.
much.
It was just that was all Frank that night. It was just so.
We had worked so hard to get him in here. We had tried so many times to get him in the studio, and it just kept falling apart and kept falling apart and kept falling apart. And finally, one night, I said to Jim, "Look, I'm finished fooling around. Get him on the phone. Tell him Tuesday night we're doing it." And I get a call back, "You got to pick him up." "I don't care if I have to piggyback him." I said, "I'll be there to get him."
Sounds about right.
So I picked him up, and Gordy drove him home.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's me and Wayne and Frank and Gordy Thomas, and oh my God,
Dear God Almighty,
Gordy Thomas.
We cut a lot.
That's amazing. Oh no!
And I'm listening.
And we're listening to it on her station, and Wayne's listening.
I'm hearing all the chatter and everything that's going on in the room that shouldn't be in the one that we did for the radio show. Yeah. And I'm going like, "No, please, no, please, no, please, no." And I said to my wife, "It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. Oh, please,
it's coming,
no.
it's coming.
Oh, no, please, no."
Remember,
fuck
and remember,
always know with no.
So, Jeff, I think maybe we're getting right around that point again where we're going to have to probably listen to a couple more tunes.
No.
Yeah. Now, we were talking about, you being in the studio, and I'm sorry that you lost your friend. We say this all the time about the talent that's here.
There's a huge amount.
You know, I mean, it's just absolutely insane the amount of talent that surrounds us in the East Coast. And like you said, some of it's moved away, but it's only ever a phone call away. And that's as far as it ever is, you know? So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to listen to a couple more songs here from Jeff Hope. And so sit back, relax, enjoy yourself. This is The Wolf's Den. You're listening to it on CIOE 97.5, the home of East Coast music, and we're also streaming live at communityradio.ca.
You can see it there, and I will watch you, and I will paint pictures of you, and you can lie there, and I will watch you, and I will write words about you. Inspire me, please. Don't say anything, words will spoil the moment. Your mind is not what they want you for. You're told, I say, don't listen to a damn word they say. Marianne, the world ain't what it seems, no. And Marianne, you're a beauty queen, oh, but beauty isn't everything. Try to speak your words, but only into your mirror. No one's there to hear your plea. And there are kind ways don't fall apart. When they say don't ask questions and do as you're told, I say don't listen to a damn word they say. Marianne, the world ain't what it seems, no. And and everything. Beauty isn't everything. Whoa, wish someone had told you when you were younger. Beauty isn't everything.
Welcome back to the Wolf's Den, ladies and gentlemen. We've got Jeff Hope in the studio with us tonight. Now, Jeff, We're talking about 2 CDs. We're talking about your older CD, which is The Show Must Go On, and we're talking about your new one, which is Fill the Void. Now, Fill the Void, as we've talked about, it's coming out. But it's like a fine wine. It's not quite ready to breathe just yet.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, that being the case, we're not going to give the public too much of that CD. So let's go back a little bit in time, and let's go back to The Show Must Go On. Now, this CD was released in 2002, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So who did you have? We talked a little bit about who you had on that CD with you, but let's just go back and rehash that. Who were the people that you had playing on that with you?
Well, I had Aaron Farr on drums, Bruce Jacobs on bass, my father on bass on one song, my father on harp on 2 songs. Then we had Ron Hustis doing some keyboard work. I worked with Ronnie.
So was Ronnie doing the Hammond with you? I'm with you. Who was playing the Hammond?
I was playing the Hammond.
You were playing the Hammond on that. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
All right. So as long as I know, there was a Hammond there.
There was a Hammond there. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Hammond, and yeah. But so I had Ronnie. I had myself. I had a fellow by the name of Jose Martinez do some alternate percussion.
Okay.
And then I had Meredith McCullough, who I played in a country rock band years ago with. He did some harmonies with me, and a fellow named Dana Sibley and Harold.
Dana Sibley.
Dana Sibley is he's a drummer. Played with T.J. Meyer's band there for years. And then I had a young lady by the name of Amanda Tistanis, who also did the female vocals on that record.
Okay.
She was Harold's daughter.
All right.
And she was very young at the time, 16, I think, but a lovely singer. And so yeah, it was quite a roster of musicians at that age, but it was musically it was not as mature, I think, as this record.
No, you can definitely see a lot of progression. And a lot of maturity. Never going to pick on the playing because I don't play, so I don't have that right to do any of that stuff. But I will say that the vocals were a lot stronger on the second CD than they were on the first CD. Now, that's not saying that I didn't like the music or that I'm trying to compare song to song or anything like that, because that just doesn't work.
Right.
One song that really got me was Isn't It a Pity?
Yes.
And, I was going through the line, I went down through the titles of all these songs, and I'm thinking, I'm looking at the song titles, Dirty Laundry. I think, I know a song about dirty laundry. And then, Isn't It a Pity? Well, isn't it a shame?
Right.
No one ever told you, boy.
Rock and roll. Yeah. April Wine.
Game, exactly.
Yeah. Loved April Wine.
And then I got to Just Another.
Yeah.
Well, just another what? Manic Monday?
Right.
And The Show Must Go On.
Right.
I mean, these are all, I'm listening to this. Was that Yes or?
Show Must Go On, I believe, was a Queen.
Was it Queen?
I think it was Queen.
Yeah.
But that wasn't my intention when I
know it wasn't, right? But it was just, it's just tells you how my brain works, I guess. So that man's messed. But Isn't It a Pity? There was a line in there, I forgot my keys. And then I think the next line is, that's okay, I'm leaving you.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't care if you lost your keys. I won't be there to help you get in. I'm gone.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
She jumped in the car and bailed, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right? Like, drop me at the corner, buddy. I'm done. I just, I'm one of those guys, the lyrics, they're kind of like flies on the paper. They kind of stick to my head as they go by, right?
Yes.
Mary Ann was another song that I liked. You Inspire Me. Words will spoil the moment.
Yeah. It's the concept at that time. It was, it was about how, and it was my perception of how a model must feel, working as a model, where you have to sit there, look good, don't speak. It was like, the world isn't what it seems. You wanted this you've gone after this your whole life, and you get there and you have no voice. And
Yeah.
so that was sort of the premise I was trying to get out in that song.
Yeah, and I mean, it's, you know, and again, another note, you know, another line in that is do as you're told.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, I guess it goes to one of those things, you know, people wish for things and wish for things and wish for things because all we ever see in this glamour side is that 2 minutes of fame.
Right.
Right? We see them walk down the runway, but we don't see the chaos that's backstage, and we don't see the anorexia, and we don't see the bulimia and all the things that go, and the anxiety and everything. And that's true with most stuff.
Yep.
You know, it's like even a musician. You know, you get all these people, oh, I want to be in a band. Do you want to travel 3,000 miles in the next 6 days for $500?
Yeah, for less than minimum wage.
Before expenses?
yeah, before expenses it's a crazy, like, people think it's easy, right, to stand up there and play. And I mean, the whole time that I did it, and most of the professionals I know, that they're doing that as a second job, or they're doing it because they love it and to make a little extra money, and it just runs you to the bone.
But this is the thing, everybody thinks that, you know, it's just what you see when you're on stage.
Yeah, and that's only a small part of it.
You know, and we talked a little bit earlier about, you know, you've got to be, how many hats do you have to wear? You know?
Yeah, all of them.
All of them.
Right?
And sometimes you don't even get a chance to take one off to put another one on.
Yeah.
Right? You got to wear two at the same time, right? All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what? I think the show must go on. So we're going to listen to a couple of songs from Mr. Jeff Hope right here in the Wolf's Den, CIOE 97.5, the home of East Coast music.
And communityradio.ca.
Don't blame me, no, I'm not your inspiration. I'm just providing you a service on location. Won't cost you much to get this building renovated. Pay me now and I'll wrap this deal up later. Don't get nervous and I don't break out no sweats. I have no fear and I never have regrets. Light it up, I'll light it up and watch it burn. Whatever you need, I got matches or a lighter. Ignite it will please don't look at any further. Start a disease in some form or another. It's just what you need, I'll get the job done for you further. Running like a son of a bitch, trying to get out before it gets hotter. Getting off without a hitch. That's the name of the game when you're a pirate for hire. Running like a son of a bitch, I'm trying to get out before it gets hotter. Getting off without a hitch. That's the name of the game when you're a pirate for hire. Called me down yesterday to the station, hoping I'd provide them with some pertinent information. Said opposing me, yes, I denied all allegations. And under the law, I'm just good in these situations. I don't get nervous and I don't break out no sweats. I have no fear and I never have regret. Light it up, I'll light it up and watch it burn. Whatever you need, I got matches or a lighter. Light it will please don't look at any further. Start a disease in some form or another. It's just what you need, I'll get the job done for you further. Running like a son of a bitch, trying to get out before it gets hotter. Getting off without a hitch. That's the name of the game when you're a pirate for hire. Running like a son of a bitch. That's the name of the game when you're a pyro for hire. Light it up, I'll light it up and watch it burn. Light it up, I'll light it up and watch it burn.
Welcome back to the Wolf's Den, ladies and gentlemen. We have Jeff Hope in the studio with us today. Now, Jeff, we've been listening to some of the stuff off of your Show Must Go On CD, and we've been talking and we've been listening just a little tiny wee bit about Fill the Void. So we know that Fill the Void is going to come up at some point in time this year, and we know that it's got 18 cuts on it. Okay? Now, there was a couple that really stuck out in my mind, and I think one of the ones I want to talk about now, I don't think we're going to get to play this one today. They're going to have to wait for this one to come out. There's a song called Pyro for Hire. Yes, and now my dad was a fireman, so as soon as I thought that, I thought, I wonder if this is what I think it is. And yes, it's what I think it is.
It was, yeah, I had been playing around with the riff, and it just sort of, it happened. I don't know, like, Jim, you're right. Sometimes just things come to mind, and I just had this, what if I wrote a song about a guy that likes to burn buildings down for money, right? Like, that'd be cool. Yeah. I like to burn stuff, right? Yeah. We have a fire in my backyard every week, right? So, and we always joke, right? Like, me and my buddy are like, well, we're pyros. So, anyways, I just sort of penned it, and it just became a little bit of a beast on its own, and it had a real, the flair was a real rock from the 70s, from the Maritimes. Like, it has that, the concepts, and of course that's my roots, Dad playing with Richie and Jimmy, and growing up on April Wine and all of the maritime rock and roll, and it sort of lives there as far as the arrangement, and
it's definitely an East Coast tune. There's no two ways about that.
And I wanted it to be fun, so I mean, it's meant to be taken very lighthearted, and I certainly hope nobody would interpret it any other way.
Well, you know what? Listen, hey, if they do, that's on them.
Yeah,
okay? All right, I'm sorry, because it's a pretty funny song. Like, when you listen to it, if you can't get the tongue-in-cheek in it, something's wrong.
Manulife Financial wants to know about it.
You know what? My dad was a fireman for 35 years, and he said he always told me he loved a good fire.
Yes, yeah. No, it's
and he said a couple of times, if I wasn't a fireman, I probably would have been a pyromaniac, because I love fire that much. Right, I thought, well, he had to. He ran into it. Everybody else was running out of it, and he was running into it, right?
It is a fascinating chemical reaction, that's for sure.
Well, if you look at a fire sometimes, it almost like it wants to say, come in.
Yeah, it's mesmerizing.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Now, we are going to get you to play a couple of songs for us here. And I think the first one we're going to get to hear is Running From Yourself.
Yeah.
So give us a little bit of a bio on that, and then why don't you give us a little rendition of it.
For sure, yeah. So I wrote Running From Yourself probably, I would say about 12 or 13 years ago. It is based on experience I had with a particular individual who I don't want to name, because, it's about addiction, right?
Yeah.
But it was for a friend. It was a friend of mine when I wrote it, and it's just about the fact that, he could just hide from his own problems so easily.
Yeah.
Was the best guy to give advice to everybody else, but never recognized his own state. And so that's sort of where I've come from with the song, and it's got a little bit of a Seeger-esque sort of Bob Seger.
There's no problem with that. We can handle that.
Yeah. So it's We're good to
all right.
So tell me really, what have you been doing lately? Have you been sitting on the shelf? Have you wakened from a dream at night, running from yourself? You've had so many chances, and you've thrown them all away. And many midnight romances, many real heartbreaking days. Have you ever come to the conclusion that you're not the one to blame? Search yourself for the answer. answer, and oh, you'll have to face the shame. So tell me really, what have you been doing lately? Have you been sitting on a shelf? Have you awakened from the dream at night, running from yourself? Tell me really, what have you been doing lately? Have you been sitting on a shelf? Have you awakened from the dream at night, running from yourself? Guess the news is you've been hiding. Yes, you locked yourself away. You can't find the strength to break your defenses. And these are real hard drinking days. Should you ever come to the conclusion that you're not the one to blame, search yourself for the answer, and oh, you'll have to face the shame. So tell me really, what have you been doing lately? Have you been sitting on a shelf? Have you awakened from a dream at night, running from yourself? Oh, tell me really, what have you been doing lately? Have you been sitting on a shelf? Have you awakened from a dream at night, running from yourself? Quit running from yourself. Running from yourself.
Nice. Right here in the Wolf's Den, running from yourself with Mr. Jeff. Now, Jeff. Somehow.
Yes, sir.
Now that's another tune that you wrote,
Another tune I wrote.
and that's going to be on the new CD.
It is, yep.
And why don't you play that one for us too?
All right. Yep.
I never meant to hurt you. I never meant to tell you any lies. I said I was sorry, but you're gone this time. You say your heart is locked up, and the only key seems broken off in the door. You say I held you perfect, and you're gone this time. What can I do to make you see that I'm gonna turn it all around? I will get you back, I know I will somehow. I never should have walked out. I never should have left you here in the dark. You said I left with purpose, and you're gone this time. I guess I never said I loved you. I never felt I needed to at the time. You said I had you perfect, and you're gone this time. What can I do to make you see that I'm gonna turn it all around? I will get you back, I know I will somehow. What can I do to make you see that I'm gonna turn it all around? I will get you back, I know I will somehow. tell you any lies. I'd say that I was sorry, but you're gone this time.
Very good. Mr. Jeff Hope, right here live in the Wolf's Den, ladies and gentlemen. So now, Jeff, have you got anything planned for the near future? How can people get a hold of you if they want to maybe get you to play for them?
Well, they can certainly get me on social media. I've got the website jeffhope.ca. You can reach me there. Of course, Facebook, Twitter, Jeff Hope Music, Instagram, Jeff Hope Music. So lots of ways to get me online. Yeah,
Why doesn't anybody do it then?
I don't know. I don't know. It's I spent the last couple of years saying no, so I just don't generally want to be in bars or taverns any longer. So I tend to just hold out, release the record, and see where that takes me.
And see where that's going to take you.
Yeah.
Well, we want to thank you very much for stopping in today, and we do hope that you do decide to get out there and
You do hope?
and play. Yes, Jeff Hope. We do hope
Have hope,
that you
yeah.
get out there and you start playing some gigs, and if that's going to happen, let us know. And we talked a little bit about your CD release when that comes. If you'd like to go that route, then you can always get a hold of Jim and I here in the Wolf's Den, and we'd be glad to help you in any way we could with that.
Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, you know the drill. You know what we always tell you here, don't you? Be nice to each other. Be kind. Really doesn't take a whole lot to do it. And after these last couple of weeks, we all really, really, really need it. And don't forget, hug the ones you love.
We should go driving 'cause I'm dying to get lost. I'll fill the tank and we'll be out of here in 20. It's hard to say if we will turn around at all. I think we'll go until we run straight out of money. Heading out on this epic journey where it ends a mystery. Heart in hand, blood is pumping, we control our destiny. dog. And the things that you said are oh so true about nights in Halifax. Oh, a night in Halifax. I thought I heard someone singing an old familiar song. And as the sun goes down, I'm feeling rowdy, wide awake till dawn. I say we go until the whole town up tonight. Won't leave the club until they turn on all the lights. We'll hit the streets until the crowd subsides. I think I'm ready for another crazy night. Another crazy night. It's funny the way it gets right to you, and you wanna travel back. So here's to the best, yes, such great memories about nights in Halifax. Oh, a night in Halifax. I thought I heard someone singing an old familiar song. And as the sun goes down, this place gets rowdy, alive from dusk till dawn. I say we go until the whole town up tonight. Won't leave the club until they turn on all the lights. We'll hit the streets until the crowd subsides.